Welcome to this edition of Tyrone Bowman Live. Hope everyone is doing well out there. And as always, we're going to get started on topic number one. As we well know, the government is in its second day of a shutdown. Now, there are many outlets that are covering this story and talking about it. And so I'm going to talk about it from a different perspective because it's something we need to take a deeper look at and examine. So once again, you're watching Tyrone Bowman Live. I found an article written for CNBC. It's a business channel. And the headline of the article reads, Trump touts shutdown as, quote, unprecedented opportunity, end quote, to cut more Democratic priorities. All right, I'm going to give you a summary. Listen to the summary, then I'm going to add something to it. So this was written by Kevin. This article for CNBC was written by Kevin Bruninger. I want to give him his credit because I use a lot of different sources to gather information. I want to make sure everyone is properly credited for their stories that I use. So the summary, President Donald Trump said Democrats gave him an unprecedented opportunity to slash government agencies during the government shutdown. The Trump administration recently said it froze about $18 billion for New York City infrastructure projects and canceled another $8 billion for climate projects in Democratic leading states. Trump said he will meet with Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Voigt, a Project 2025 author, to discuss cutting what he called Democrat agencies. Now, it's important to know who Russell Voigt is because he is one of the main authors of Project 2025. As you know, during the presidential campaign season, Trump consistently and repeatedly said he knew nothing about Project 2025 or the people who wrote it. That's what it said. Now, isn't it ironic that the Democrats are being blamed for the government shutdown? Check this out. These are facts. The MAGA Republicans control the Senate. The MAGA Republicans control Congress. The MAGA Republicans are in control of the White House. So they essentially hold all the cards. They're the major party who can make all the decisions, and they have been making them. So how are the Democrats to blame for the government shutdown when they are not the majority? They are the minority. It's called scapegoating. It's called deflecting. It's called outright lying. It's the politics of retribution and vindictiveness. They were never going to do anything to favor democratically led cities anyway. Let's get it straight, because everything that they've been done has been diametrically opposed to the Democrats and anybody within the Democratic Party and anybody who voted for former Vice President Kamala Harris. And now they're on a major vindictive campaign to punish any state that used their constitutionally given right to vote for the candidate of their choice. This is supposed to be about the economy. The economy is out of control. Joblessness is out of control. People are being so-called laid off. No, they're being fired by the millions. Medicaid, Medicare is being slashed. Prescription prices are still out of control. But they're always sitting back blaming the Democrats for everything that's wrong in this nation. And Voigt was given the prime position as the White House and administration budget director. That was the payoff that he got for authoring or co-authoring Project 2025. I told you all about Project 2025 during the presidential campaign season. I even did a lengthy report that was written by CBS News on 3 or 4 occasions, and I told y'all about it. But people did not want to listen. This is nothing but vindictiveness going on here in this nation. And the Republicans, the do-nothing, acting MAGA Republicans, the racist, bigoted Republicans, they know that the midterm elections are coming up, and not one Republican-led state, no matter how much crime is in these states, and believe me, crime is up in Republican states as well. Lawlessness is running rampant. The shooter over the weekend, and I'm going to do a story about it, who shot and killed people in the Latter-day Saint Adventist Church, he was a MAGA Republican. Yet the Republican networks don't want to cover it. They don't want to talk about it. He was a homegrown terrorist. He was one of them. And he systematically, deliberately did what he did. Then he had the nerve to set the church on fire in an attempt to cover up his crimes. And people get angry and upset when these issues are just, what do you want to be, oblivious to what's going on in the country? Be oblivious to what's going on in the nation? Some people rather have blinders on their eyes because it doesn't affect them. Well, guess what? Pretty soon it's going to affect your state, your city, your town, your family, your friends. And then what? As long as it's affecting those other people, meaning black folk and anybody else in between, we don't care about what happens. Just don't touch us. Terrorize them. Make life hard for them. Because they're taking our jobs. What jobs? That's what they said. They're taking your jobs. What jobs? Because black folks still are not going back out to work in the cotton fields, quote unquote, for nobody. Been there, done that, not doing it anymore. So Trump's warning came a day after his administration froze about $18 billion for 2 major infrastructure projects in New York City and canceled roughly $8 billion more for climate-related projects in Democratic-leaning states. That money is for tax cuts and tax breaks for the wealthy, the rich, and the powerful. So then let the states and stuff just decline. Let the infrastructure decline. The Republicans are not going to get any money either. They think they are. And then when the cities and stuff start disintegrating and falling apart, who do you want to blame? The homeless, the hungry, the just marginalized. When crime rates are soaring in the nation, they're at the top of the list. Black on black crime. Look at those people. They really want to cause the ends. Look at those people. Oh, like black people, the only people that commit crimes in this nation? Are you serious? Statistically speaking, the other group, the terroristic white groups, commit more crimes than anybody else. They hide behind the hoods. They hide behind the safety net of what they think is a protective shield because their person is in power. And they think that there are no punitive actions for the things that they have done and will continue to do. That's why they try to invoke fear, 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 fear. This is not a time to be afraid. This is not a time to sit back blindly, or blindly rather. The top Democrats leading the shutdown fight, Senator Chuck Schumer and Representative Hakeem Jeffries, both represent New York. Both of the funding halts were first announced by Russell Voigt, the director of the White House's Office of Management and Budget, not by the departments that have oversight of the projects. Trump said he will soon meet with Voigt to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut. So the Democratic agency are political scams in capital letters. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to bluntly tell you all something. You can like it, and you don't have to like it. It really doesn't matter. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime did the same things. That's why Nazi Germany committed all the atrocities and the terrible things that they did. Everything that Hitler did, he did it within the context of the law and the blessings of the Roman Catholic Church. Hitler was considered to be a Catholic. Look it up for yourself. I'll go and get the film footage where the Pope actually blessed certain things that Pope back then, that Hitler was doing. I have read Mein Kampf 3 times from cover to cover, word for word, in between. So I know the playbook and the language and the phraseology that they're using. It comes right out of that book. These people have nothing new. When Obama was in office, they hated Obama, and he continually invokes Obama's name, saying, oh, he was a terrible president. That's a lie. You all don't want to, these Republicans don't want to give Obama credit for nothing. They already took his portrait and probably burned it by now or threw it someplace down in the basement. Because the portrait of no black man shall ever stay up in the White House. Obama, class personified, articulate, not one scintilla of any type of improperness went on during his 8 years while in office. To the whole dismantling of everything that Obama did is more psychological than anything to make them feel better, because just because you say a person was bad, that doesn't make them bad. These politicians on the Republican side, they want to be worshiped. They want to be adored. They want people to bow down to a superficial altar of deceitfulness that leads to self-destruction and anarchy. This isn't the first time that the government is shut down, and it won't be the last. It shut down in 2018, 2019. People need to go back in time. The Democrats have every right to exercise their constitutional right and not go along with these Republicans to slash Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP benefits and things of that nature. They don't have to vote toe and step with them. The Democrats don't work for them. And anybody who doesn't go along with what this administration is doing, they're fired. They're fired. You're fired. Get fired. Get another job someplace else. I've had many jobs I've been fired from. Was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I relish and enjoyed every moment of it. Getting fired is not the worst thing that ever happened in this life. Don't let some greedy CEO or bigoted CEO to put an albatross around your neck and tell you you've got rent, gas, electric bills, and if you get fired, you will still survive. The source should be God, not the government. Not man. So, Trump says concerning Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, the two men will also wait, quote, whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. Trump wrote on Truth Social, I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. He said, I can't believe that the racist, bigoted Republicans are stonewalling and blockading everything good for the American people that they promised and swore an oath to do. They're doing just the opposite. They're even hurting the constituents in their own counties and in their own states. These gutless cowards would rather have their constituency suffer. And then when the midterm elections come around, they'll try to pretend like, oh, well, we did so much with the big, beautiful bill. It's going to take 7 to 10 years for it to kick in. People are hungry now. People are losing jobs right now. Gas prices are going up now. Food prices are going up now. Homelessness and hunger is happening right now. People don't have time to wait 10, 15, and 20 years to get relief. They need relief right now. The Trump administration, in a memo released by Vaught's OMB, had warned federal agencies last week to prepare for mass firings in the event of a shutdown. Trump asked about that memo, said there could be firings and that's their fault. That's just like the rich. We could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut, he said in a recent interview with conservative news outlet OAN. Top White House officials, including Voight and Vice President, whatever his name is, said Wednesday that those firings would begin within days. And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Thursday that the number of federal layoffs is likely going to be in the thousands. They were going to do it anyway. This is just a non-plausible excuse to try to force the Democrats to cave in, bow down, crawl, and do what they say. Just like employers. They make it hard for people to have time off with their families. They want you there 7 days a week. They don't care if you have a family, a husband, a wife, a children, social activities outside of work. They don't care if you're working 10, 20, and 40, 50, 60, and 70 hours. They just want you to become a corporate slave. That's what corporate America wants. And then after they've used you, the best of your gifts and your talents and abilities, then they throw you out into the streets without a safety net. It was unclear when Trump and Voight were scheduled to meet. The White House responded to a request for details about the meeting with an automated message blaming Democrats for the shutdown and warning its correspondence with the press may be delayed as a result. We don't care. Because their press conferences are always one-sided, full of hate, vitriol, poison, vindictiveness, bitterness coming out of their mouths. Because they're taught to be nasty. They're taught to be hateful. They're taught to be rotten. And Democrats, listen up. You better get some spine. Take a firm stand and don't cave in. Make the Republicans own it. They control the Senate. They control the Congress. They control the White House. Make them own it. Stop being nice to your enemies. They consider you to be their enemies. Stop being nice to them. Stop being conciliatory. Stop, quote unquote, turning the other cheek. Stop groveling at their feet. Trump repeatedly disavowed Project 2025 while running for president, saying he and his campaign had nothing to do with it. But in Thursday's post, Trump touted Voight as, quote, he of Project 2025 fame, end quote. And there's more to this story that I'll be reporting about in a separate video. I don't like to make these videos too long. But this government shutdown is about vindictiveness and retribution. They don't care about y'all. They don't care about your families. They only care about the rich and the powerful. That's it. They don't care about your children. They don't care about inflation. They really don't care about this immigration policy. They only care about how it can benefit them. They care about privatization of prisons and the stockholders and the politicians who invest in them. How much can they make off the misery and suffrage of people who can't fight back? They don't care about seniors losing Social Security and all the things that they work hard for. It's about punishment, 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 punishment. That's what it's about. Over and over again. And according to Politico, Trump targets states that voted for Harris in his shutdown fight. You know, people have had hard times before. And let me tell you something, you rich people, you put all your faith and your trust in your billions and billions and billions of dollars. The stock market crashed before, and it will crash again. And what did they do when the stock market crashed? They killed themselves. They committed suicide. They jumped off of buildings. They blew their brains out. because their faith and their trust was in their silver and their gold, in their wealth and in their riches. What happened before is happening now. Woodrow Wilson was one of the most racist presidents America ever had. Never surrender, never quit.